The housing market does not flip because of headlines. It flips because supply, financing, and marginal demand stop aligning at the same time. And right now, migration headlines are masking a much more important shift underneath the surface. Within our strategy, we focus on mechanisms over narratives. The U-Haul report shows Texas, Florida, and several Sunbelt states still ranking high for inbound moves. That sounds bullish for housing, but migration direction alone does not determine prices. The transmission mechanism runs through magnitude, inventory, and cost of capital. First, the magnitude of migration has slowed meaningfully compared to the pandemic surge. Direction is similar, but volume is lower. Second, inventory in many of these same markets has risen, especially in high elasticity supply regions like Texas, Florida, and parts of the Southeast. Third, mortgage rates, insurance premiums, and property taxes have raised the all-in monthly cost to levels that compress affordability even if population growth remains positive. That combination creates what we classify as Phase 2 multiple compression in housing. Not a crash cascade, not forced liquidation, but repricing to reflect new cost realities. When incremental demand is not strong enough to absorb incremental supply at current monthly payments, prices soften, even if people are still moving in. We are seeing that in markets like Austin, Dallas, parts of Florida, and now pockets of Louisiana and Georgia. New Orleans is a useful micro-example. Significant price cuts, elevated insurance costs, improving crime statistics at the margin, and valuations in certain neighborhoods now below pre-pandemic levels. That is sequencing at work. Affordability resets before demand stabilizes. As of the first quarter of 2026, our strategy assigns roughly 60% probability that national housing remains in Phase 2 compression through late 2026. About 30% probability that stabilization begins earlier if real mortgage rates ease and inventory tightens, and around 10% probability of a broader stress transition into Phase 3 if labor conditions deteriorate and credit spreads widen into mid-2027. If you find this kind of mechanism-based breakdown useful, consider subscribing. We focus on the signal stack behind the headlines so you can better understand how rates, credit, liquidity, and housing actually interact over time. This is not investment advice. It is educational analysis built around probability and sequencing, not prediction. Sustained declines in active listings, rental vacancy rates flattening and tightening, insurance cost growth moderating, and long-term yields easing without a spike in term premium. What would invalidate stabilization? Rising inventory alongside labor deterioration, accelerating delinquencies, or long yields climbing due to funding stress. Migration alone is not the driver. Net absorption relative to supply under prevailing financing conditions is the driver. Until that clears, adjustment comes before expansion. Our strategy tracks that sequencing, not the headline cycle.